Good morning and welcome to News at 10 on Rajya Sabha TV. I'm Aishwarya Kapoor. Now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi begins a visit to Britain. Well, that is the big focus this morning. We have all the news and updates in the next half an hour. Let us begin with the headlines. Prime Minister embarks on two-nation tour of UK and Turkey. Economy, security and energy expected to dominate PM's agenda during talks in Britain and G20 summit in Turkey. Bangladesh hands over Anup Chetia, leader of banned Assamese outfit United Liberation Front of Assam, to India. Prime Minister calls up Bangladeshi counterpart Sheikh Hasina, thanked her for assistance. Protesting war veterans mark Black Diwali, try to burn medals during their march to Rashtrapati Bhavan. Defence Minister says their behaviour not becoming of a soldier. Protest march outside Presidential Palace in Afghanistan capital Kabul. Thousands march to denounce recent abductions and killings of Hazara Shiite minority by terrorists. And Russian President Vladimir Putin orders investigation into allegations that country's athletes had been part of a systematic doping program. Well, ahead of a winter session of Parliament, Prime Minister Narendra Modi began a two-nation tour of the UK and Turkey early this morning. Economy, security and energy are expected to dominate the PM's agenda during bilateral talks in Britain and at G20 summit in Turkey. Well, his UK visit will also include a grand reception at the Wembley Stadium on Friday, which is billed as the biggest political rally in the history of the UK.
18 months after coming to power, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is visiting the UK for the first time. Early on Thursday, Modi left for a 3-day visit to the UK, during which he will hold bilateral talks with the leadership, including Prime Minister David Cameron. Issues like security, anti-terror campaign are some of the key agendas on Prime Minister's list to do. An estimated $15 billion trade and investment deals are expected from Modi's UK visit.
There would be a lot of political and security-related discussions, both on global and regional issues.
Before his visit, Modi contributed an article on the Sunday Times about his expectations from the visit. He pinned hopes for more foreign investments from the UK to boost economy. Food security, climate change are some of the other issues on which he hopes to have cooperation from the UK. The Prime Minister will meet the Queen and also attend a grand reception at the iconic Wembley Stadium on the last day of his visit. He is scheduled to address the Indian diaspora in an event described as Olympic style. However, opposition parties have come out slamming the Prime Minister's frequent visits abroad.
Nothing comes out of these visits except a bit of chest thumping here and there. And considering that people of India are rejecting him, so maybe his hunger for crowds abroad is what takes him out of the country ever so often.
अब बिहार में और देश में तो उनके भ्रमण के लिए कुछ कम ही जगह बची हैं। अब वो विदेश में रह करके एनआरआई प्रधानमंत्री का टैग लिए घूमते रहें, यही उनके लिए अच्छा है।
Fresh from the poll defeat in Bihar, Modi has to now assure Britain that opposition will not stall key reforms and that business will not be hampered. Modi is the first Indian Prime Minister to visit the UK in a decade. UK had boycotted Modi for 10 years after the 2002 riots, when he was the Chief Minister of Gujarat. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, Bangladesh handed over Anup Chetia, leader of the banned Assamese outfit United Liberation Front of Assam, to India. The decision was reportedly taken after the intervention of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, along with the active involvement of National Security Advisor Ajit Doval. The Prime Minister spoke to Bangladesh Premier Sheikh Hasina and thanked her for her assistance to fight terror.
Wanted for murder, abductions and extortion in India, Ulfa leader Anup Chetia was brought to India for the first time since his arrest by the Bangladesh police in 1997.
This is a major breakthrough, and the Bangladesh government has decided to hand over, and this will lead to cracking of many cases. I would like to extend gratitude to the government of Bangladesh and the Prime Minister for finally heeding to our demand. And Anup Chetia was wanted for a long time, and he's a senior leader of the Alpha. And with the handing over of Anup Chetia, we will be in a position to link in many cases and to crack some of the important cases which the investigation is going on.
A founding member and General Secretary of the ULFA, Chetia's return comes days after the deportation of underworld don Chota Rajan, one of India's most wanted criminals. He had sought political asylum in Bangladesh thrice in 2005, 8 and 11.
It's a very significant development because a man was wanted for over 17 years, wanted in many cases of all types, extortion, terrorism, everything, and he had been away. We knew where he was. And the request has been made again and again by the government of India to Bangladesh government. For some reason or other, we did not succeed. Now, within 15 days of the arrest of Chota Rajan, another important wanted man has been handed over to us.
Chetia served 7 years in jail for cross-border intrusion, carrying fake passports and illegally keeping foreign currencies. The Bangladesh High Court asked the government in custody until his asylum petition was decided. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And news from Bihar, where after the assembly elections, the formal process of government formation will begin on 14th of November. Well, the state cabinet is expected to meet then and recommend the dissolution of the present house. A legislature party of the Grand Secular Alliance will be held later on that day to elect a new leader and decide the date and venue for the oath-taking ceremony. The Chief Minister also said that after Saturday's legislature party meeting, the alliance would formally stake claim to forming the government. Now, speculation is rife in political corridors that somebody from Lalu Prasad's family could be made the Deputy Chief Minister. Remember, RJD is the biggest partner in the Grand Secular Alliance. With 80 out of the cumulative 178 seats, the grouping has won in the 243-member House. JDU has 71 MLAs and Congress 27. Now, Nitish Kumar's swearing-in ceremony is likely to take place on 20th of November. And in the other big story, well, after 4 BJP veterans led by L.K. Advani issued a statement demanding accountability for the Bihar electoral rout, more BJP ministers defended the top leadership. They said that they were only following the precedent of collective responsibility for such failures.
BJP leaders have reacted to the criticism by party veterans for the Bihar poll debacle. Senior leader Ram Madhav said the party will discuss the points raised by them.
हमारे 4 मार्गदर्शक मंडल के वरिष्ठ नेताओं का जो विचार कल सुनने को आया, ध्यान में आया था, उसका जो मुख्य थ्रस्ट है कि बिहार के हार का सही विश्लेषण किया जाए, उसके क्या कारण है, उसकी जांच पड़ताल ठीक ढंग से हो। हम इस सुझाव को हृदय से स्वीकार करते हैं। वह प्रक्रिया प्रारंभ हो गई है, हमारे पार्टी के लीडरशिप के लेवल पे हुई है, बाद में पार्लियामेंट्री बोर्ड के लेवल पर हुई है, आगे भी ये प्रक्रिया चलेगी और उसमें स्वयं इन सीनियर नेताओं से भी विचार विमर्श किया जाएगा।
On Tuesday, Advani, Murli Manohar Joshi, Yashwant Sinha and Shanda Kumar issued a statement claiming the party had not learned its lessons from its defeat in the Delhi Assembly elections. They also said the party leadership was shrugging off responsibility. To this, BJP ministers Rajnath Singh, Nitin Gadkari and Venkaiah Naidu issued a counter statement claiming that former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee and Lal Krishna Advani had set the precedent for collective responsibility.
जब विजय होता है तो सभी का होता है और हार होती है तो सभी की होती है। जब 4-4 स्टेट हमने एक समय गवा दिए थे, तब भी हमने किसी एक व्यक्ति को उसके लिए जिम्मेदार नहीं माना था और इसलिए प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी और अमित शाह हमारे अध्यक्ष, इनको इसके लिए जिम्मेदार मानना उचित नहीं होगा। ये हार है तो पार्टी की है, सबकी, हम सबकी है। हम अपनी और ताकत बढ़ाने की कोशिश करेंगे।
Opposition parties did not lose the opportunity to take a dig at BJP.
Before the results came, I said that after the results will come out, the brain dead will get brain alive and they'll come out from their cold storage and they'll get heated and charged up. And exactly that has happened. Now this heat is going to make Narendra Modi and Amit Shah cold.
देखिए, जब उनको मार्गदर्शक बनाया गया था, उसमें उनको एक जगह दी गई थी, तो उसकी तो कोई भूमिका रही नहीं। जब से नरेंद्र मोदी जी प्रधानमंत्री बने और अमित शाह भारतीय जनता पार्टी के अध्यक्ष बने, सारे सीनियर लोगों को एक जगह इकट्ठा कर दिया गया। अगर उनसे बीच में बातचीत होती रहती, संवाद चलता रहता, तो शायद ये नौबत नहीं आती, क्योंकि उनका एक लंबा अनुभव था। नरेंद्र मोदी जी हों या अमित शाह जी हों, राष्ट्रीय राजनीति से बहुत वाकिफ नहीं थे वो लोग।
I think this was already simmering within the BJP, because the nature of collective has been destroyed in the BJP. They have been our opponents. We have been opposing even Advani's politics or Joshi's politics. But the fact is, even when we opposed, we always knew that they believe in the collective decision making. Under Amit Shah ji and Modi ji in particular, the message has gone that this is highly individual centered party. Almost nobody has any role to play. I have myself seen during the Bihar election. So I think what they have said was already there in the minds of several BJP leaders.
The debate over the BJP leadership's role is only expected to intensify further in the run-up to the winter session of Parliament. And regardless of any likely changes it triggers within the party, it's expected to strengthen the opposition's attack on the party. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And it is India's, in fact, ISRO's Diwali gift to India, because India's latest communication satellite G15 was successfully launched in the early hours of Wednesday from the spaceport of Koro in French Guiana. GSat-15 was launched by using one of the world's largest rockets, the Ariane 5, costing 278 crore rupees. The satellite weighs 3,164 kilograms. Now it carries a suite of 24 transponders that will help in direct-to-home broadcasting. It will deliver telecommunication services as well as dedicated navigation aid and emergency services into space in a flawless flight. India currently has a shortage of transponders in space, with the Indian satellite system being able to handle just a third of the required capacity and the rest being leased from foreign satellite owners. Now, other two telecommunication satellites, that is GSat-17 and GSat-18, will be launched in 2016 and 2017 respectively. And in other news, well, all attempts by the centre to ease the agitated and dissatisfied war veterans over the OROP issue is failing. War veterans celebrated Black Diwali yesterday by attempting to burn their medals outside Rashtrapati Bhavan. Take a look. Disgruntled by centre's notification on OROP, a group of veterans took out protest march in front of the Rashtrapati Bhavan and tried to burn their medals.
We veterans, soldiers, are not celebrating Diwali. We are celebrating in our own way as Black Diwali, for the government apathy as well as injustice, for not granting us the one rank, one pension as sanctioned by the parliament.
Half-hearted one rank, one pension, nothing on ground is really material. Nobody has got even a penny. Even the new notification does not tell you when the money will come into your accounts.
सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट बात यह है कि अगर किसी चीज को आपने दिया है और उसके साथ ही साथ अगर आपने कमीशन भी सेटअप किया है, इसका मतलब आपके मन में भी डाउट है कि आप जो दे रहे हैं वो पूरा नहीं है.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Diwali gift response during a war memorial visit backfired and escalated the issue further.
One rank, one pension, दिवाली का तोहफा सरकार ने आपको दे दिया है. कई वर्षों से मामला लटका पड़ा था.
ये तोहफा कब से हो गया? ये तो हमारा हक है, नंबर एक. नंबर दो, कमीशन बैठा है. अभी तो वो कह रहे थे ये बहुत पेचीदा सवाल है, बहुत जटिल मामला है. अब वो कमीशन को भी पेचीदा बनाएंगे, जटिल बनाएंगे.
बहुत अफसोस है मुझे कि जो बात आपने घोषित कर दी उसे पूरा करना चाहिए, और आपके पूरे करने से लोगों को जो फौजी हैं, वन रैंक वन पेंशन वाले जो मांग कर रहे थे, उनका भी तो वो मुतमईन होना चाहिए.
इट इज द फोर्स ऑफ इंडिया, इट इज द स्ट्रेंथ ऑफ इंडिया, हमारे आर्म्ड फोर्सेस, और उनको इस तरीका से जो ट्रीट कर रहा है ना गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया, दिस इज रॉन्ग. इंसल्ट to the man in uniform, मुझे बहुत दुख है.
Such a situation is something unthinkable, and the government at this late stage, Prime Minister simply making a statement just as an eyewash is not going to be taken seriously by anybody.
According to the OROP package announced by the government, pensions will be equalized every 5 years. The ex-servicemen want pensions to be equalized every year so that everyone retiring from the same rank with same years of service gets the same pension. War veterans have said that till their demands are met, their protests will continue. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And now let's take a look at what all events are lined up for the day in the day ahead. In a bid to reduce gender inequality in India and increase female work participation rates, the Kerala government is set to host the country's first global conference on gender equality for 2 days beginning today. With the core theme of gender, governance and inclusion, the conference is set to discuss issues ranging from citizenship, globalization, work, governance, health, education, disability and the role of media. After almost 5 months being off the shelves, Nestle India's iconic Maggi noodles will be available from today. The company has also tied up with online retailer Snapdeal.com to take bookings for the Maggi packets. An international summit on migration taking place at the Mediterranean Conference Centre in Maltese capital of Valletta will conclude today. Back in April, the European Council called for the holding of an international summit to discuss migration issues with the African and other key countries. Now, the conference was organized to build on existing cooperation processes between Europe and Africa. The time to take a very short break. We'll be back with more news. Stay with us.
Hottest topics.
If you can facilitate the opening up and the expansion of the international border trade, you can add to the economy.
370 धारा जो है वो जम्मू कश्मीर को मुल्क के साथ जोड़े रखती है.
Candid confessions.
The Congress has not been able to communicate.
We have to revive our links with the masses.
World-class healthcare is available to only a handful of people in this country.
Causing controversies.
A lot of leaders today think that they rule by divine right.
Now, media has become manageable.
Watch RSTV engaged personalities to the point. Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. Thursday, 1:30 and 5:30 p.m.
And the big international story coming in from Afghanistan, where the presidential guards opened fire to disperse a protest march outside the palace compound in Kabul. At least 7 people were injured in the fire. Now, thousands marched on Wednesday to denounce recent abductions and killings of 7 members of the Hazara Shiite minority by terrorists. Afghan President Ashraf Ghani appealed for calm and promised revenge.
In one of the biggest demonstrations in Kabul in years, thousands marched outside the presidential palace demanding government action after terrorists dumped the partially beheaded bodies of people of the Shiite minority group Hazara earlier this week. According to the UN office in Afghanistan, 7 people were abducted last month. It is still unclear if the IS or the Taliban were behind the killings. At least 7 people were injured after police forces fired shots to disperse the crowd as they began throwing stones, breaking windows of the presidential palace.
Today we come here for, we need the peace because of our people. Pashtun, Hazara, Uzbek, every people of Afghanistan, we love Afghanistan. We are Afghanistan.
خواستیم هم عزیز که رئیس جمهور بیاید اینجا برای مردم ما باید پاسخ بده، پاسخ شهدا رو بده. چرا امنیت نیست کشور؟ چرا چیزی که وعده کرد با کمپاین خود باید امون عملی میکنه، یک ذره عملی نشده.
With anger spilling onto the streets, President Ashraf Ghani appealed for calm, promising revenge. He warned that terrorists are creating ethnic and regional divisions. Pressure is mounting on his government against a growing insecurity in the country.
دشمنان ما میخواهند با خلق حادثه‌های که رنگ قومی و منطقه‌ای به آن میدهند اتحاد و یکدلی ما را از ما بگیرند. آنان دیدند که در دیگر جبهات شکست مفتضحانه خوردند. دیدند که منطقه کور آنان.
The Hazaras are the Persian-speaking people belonging to the Shia minority. They have long faced persecution in Afghanistan, with thousands massacred by the Taliban and Al-Qaeda in 1990s. They say people from their community were killed almost every day in West Kabul, which is mostly under Taliban control. However, protests have turned communal as many Hazaras are pointing fingers at the largest ethnic group in Afghanistan, Pashtun. Reports suggest that the IS recruits their followers from this community. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha Television.
And news from Myanmar now, where President Thein Sein has congratulated Aung San Suu Kyi's opposition party on its success in polls. Now, this came after more results of the country's election emerged on Wednesday. And the results are showing the opposition NLD party moving closer to a landslide victory. As of Wednesday morning, Suu Kyi's party had 135 of the 149 lower house seats which have been counted so far. And there are 440 seats in the lower house. To form the Myanmar's first democratically elected government since the early 1960s, the NLD needs to win more than 2/3 of seats that were contested in parliament, while a quarter of the seats are set aside for the army. Sunday's vote was the nation's first general election since the military ceded power to a quasi-civilian government in 2011, ushering in reforms and opening up to foreign investors. On the streets, people were eagerly awaiting the results, but they were also worried that the generals would be reluctant to hand over the power. The NLD won elections decisively in 1990 as well, but only for the result to be nullified, and Suu Kyi was placed under long-term house arrest. An update on Syria now. Well, Moscow is likely to change its position on the survival of the Assad regime. The Russian government released a document calling for a reform process in the war-stricken Syria that could see Assad out of power. Russia wants to see an agreement on the list of terrorist groups operating in Syria.
In a significant shift, Russia is proposing a 7-point peace plan for Syria, surprisingly calling for Syrian President Bashar al-Assad to leave power. The proposal suggests a constitutional reform process lasting 18 months to be followed by presidential elections. The document doesn't say if Syrian President Bashar al-Assad should remain in power during the transition.
И мы, конечно же, хотим, чтобы на этой встрече был сделан шаг вперед, желательно 2 шага вперед, по реализации того, о чем договорились 30 октября и что отражено в соответствующем заявлении.
The Russian document circulated at the United Nations comes ahead of the next international negotiations in Geneva beginning on Saturday. Putin said the priority should be to establish which Syrian opposition groups are to be regarded as partners.
Имею в виду прежде всего, во-первых, необходимость договориться о списке террористических организаций, чтобы ни у кого не возникало сомнений, колебаний в том, что касается ориентировки, ориентации той или иной вооруженной группы.
In one of the most high-profile victory for the Syrian army since the Russian air campaign was launched against the Islamic State, the Syrian army fought its way to secure the Qureys air base in Aleppo. They freed the military personnel after a nearly 2-year siege by the insurgents. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Let's now get you some more international news in World Wrap. Expressing concern over the obstruction of essential supplies to Nepal, UN Chief Ban Ki-moon on Wednesday called on all sides to lift the blockade at the Indo-Nepal border. Moon underlined Nepal's right of free transit as a landlocked nation as well as for humanitarian reasons. The agitators have been picketing the Nepal-India border near Raxaul, from where 70% of goods are transported to Nepal. India says Nepal's internal factors were responsible for the blockade. Sweden has announced the introduction of temporary border checks to control the flow of migrants into the country. Swedish Interior Minister said that the step had been decided after police warned a surge in new arrivals that posed a threat to public order. The controls will come into effect from midday local time on Thursday and will last initially for 10 days. Pro-independence leaders in Catalonia have vowed to press ahead with plans to break away from Spain. This came despite a decision by the Constitutional Court to suspend the secession process. Spain's government earlier appealed to the Constitutional Court to intervene. Catalonia's regional parliament had on Monday passed a motion to start the secession process, stating an aim of independence within 18 months. A deal has been struck at a UN conference in Geneva on using satellites to track planes. The decision on a global flight tracking system was motivated by the disappearance of Malaysian Airlines flight MH370 last year. The deal will enable satellites to receive transmissions that aircrafts usually send only to other aircrafts and to ground stations. Remember, MH370 disappeared in March 2014 with 239 people on board. And in the big international sports story, Russian President Vladimir Putin has ordered an investigation into allegations that its athletes had been part of a systematic doping program. Now, speaking for the first time since WADA report that leveled the allegations, Putin said Russia needed to cooperate with the international organizations as openly as it could. He also said that someone needed to take personal responsibility for the problem. Russian Sports Minister Vitaly Mutko said that country could adopt new measures to clamp down on doping, including devising new testing methods. Russian athletes face ban from international athletics, including the 2016 Olympic Games, after an anti-doping commission report alleged widespread corruption and a state-sponsored drug culture in the country.
Последних событий, связанных с нашей легкоатлетической федерации, то прошу министров спорта, всех коллег, которые так или иначе со спортом связаны, обратить на это самое пристальное внимание. Это первое. Второе. Необходимо провести свое собственное внутреннее расследование.
Мы можем изменить качество тестирования, уйти от количественных показателей, можем пойти в качество. То есть речь идет, мы можем уйти от прямых, обычных допинговых проб, а уйти на биологический паспорт, который практически исключает любую манипуляцию и сразу попадает в систему Адамс.
And some more stories in Sports Beat. Ace Indian shuttler Saina Nehwal edged past her Chinese opponent Sun Yu 22-20, 21-18 to move into the second round of the China Open. PV Sindhu also moved to the next round after beating her Russian rival in straight sets. However, it was disappointment in the men's category as defending champion Kadambi Srikanth crashed out of the tournament after losing his first round encounter to Hu Yung of Hong Kong. London Olympic silver medalist Vijay Kumar won 2 medals on the final day of the Asian Shooting Championship to take India's final tally to 44 medals. Vijay won the bronze in 25 meters center fire pistol event. Then he teamed up with Samresh Jung and Pemba Tamang to bag the team silver in the event. India finished with 17 gold, 14 silver and 13 bronze. Pakistan batsman Yunus Khan announced his retirement from ODI cricket on Wednesday. Yunus was recalled for the ongoing 4-match ODI series against England. However, the 37-year-old decided to call it quits after the first match on Wednesday. His decision has left the Pakistan Cricket Board in shock. Yunus finished his ODI career with 7,249 runs, with 7 centuries and 48 half-centuries. Former International Olympic President Laminique Diack has resigned as an honorary IOC member a day after he was provisionally suspended by the organization over corruption charges. Diack is under formal investigation in France for corruption and money laundering in connection with athletics. Well, that's it from me and my team in this edition of Breakfast News. Thanks so much for your time.